Hey there, StarCraft fans! It's Falcon Paladin coming at ya with yet another edition of StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void and a Sunday series for your Sunday today. It's going to be a best of 5 from Katowice 2020. The qualification rounds, it's going to be Bomber versus DongRaeGu. Starting on Nightshade for game number 1. Bottom right hand corner, we have the blue Zerg player, DongRaeGu. And in the top left, it is the red Terran player, Bomber. Two legends. Two legends of StarCraft 2 here, y'all. Bomber, my goodness. What an incredible Terran player, terrorizing Zerg players and Protoss players alike back in the Heart of the Swarm era. Got some stuff going in Legacy of the Void 2, trying to make a bit of a comeback here. Should be really good stuff here. DongRaeGu is also a legend in his own right. Once again, trying to make a comeback. So, we will see who will win between these two players who have so many accomplishments on their Liquipedia pages. Nothing much happening here at the early game. Just one Rax expand, 16, 18, 17 here from DongRaeGu, 17 supply, bam! Throws down his spawning pool. And I've got Reaper names here ready to go. Man, this is going to be good. I'm so excited for this. I'm expecting Infestors. I'm expecting Vipers. I'm expecting a lot of Thors. Thors are good right now. Reaper on the way. Reaper's name is Rumpelstiltskin, which we don't actually have a name for, but that's fine. Or a backstory for, but that's fine. Or Rumpelstiltskin it is. And on the other side of it, no scouting really. So traditionally, this Reaper should stay home. I don't see any sign of Bomber that he ever scouted here at all. Nope, definitely didn't. So he doesn't know what's up. So in this situation, Terran players, you need to stay home with your Reaper. You don't know if that was a 12 pool. You don't know if that was 12 pool Lings are coming across to kill your base. Or you could just be Bomber and not worry about it. So he's going to come right across. He gambled and he won is the thing here. He doesn't have to worry about anything. Not because he knew he didn't have to worry about anything, but because he guessed he wouldn't. And yeah, not a problem. Going to show up. The Lings are out about 3 seconds before the Reaper shows up. The Reaper's like, okay, yes, I see. There's a hatch here, which means it wasn't a 12 pool, which is awesome. I see the pool is done. I see it's researching something, probably speed. And let's harass here inside the main base today. This is kind of a new thing. We don't usually see harassment inside the main base. But Bomber, trying to switch things up a little bit compared to the current meta, which is why I wanted to cast this series. I think both players are more likely to do stuff that's not quite inside the current meta. And is awesome, and it's tons of fun. Reaper kind of wants to dart in, but again, Queens are a problem. Third base did sneak down here from DongRaeGu. I assume while the Reaper was busy inside the main base, a drone snuck down to get that third base down, which is probably why Reapers attack into the natural base in the first place, as they can tell when the drone's coming out and slow it down. So that's a bit of a problem. If you're a Terran player of elite level, or really any level, if you can slow down the construction of this third base, you're going to have a good time. Look at the difference here. I've cast games where this third base doesn't come down, doesn't start coming down until 310, which is like 5 seconds ago. And instead, it's halfway done. That's massive. That is a massive economic advantage to have that base done at, 330 instead of done around 410 or 420. It's not good. It's really not good stuff. Anyway, we've got ourselves a starport. We have a factory. This is all very normal. Normal Terran stuff here. After this point, we start to see what they're getting into. This is where you want to start scouting if you're a Zerg player around the 4 or 4.5, 5 minute mark. See what they're up to. Are there multiple factories? Are there multiple barracks? That's usually all you need to tell you what type of strategy you're going to be dealing with here. And Creep Tumor does get down. KD8 charge notwithstanding. That's pretty good. That's big, man. That Creep Tumor is really important for a future creep spread. And the more creep spread there is, the better it is for you as a Zerg player. Bomber, on the other hand, is macroing extremely well. He's got a Viking to kill Overlords that are trying to scout. And yes, Overlord speed is done. And the Overlord is going to die, and it doesn't really get much information here other than I can't see anything but one factory and one barracks and a starport. That's a third CC, though. Bomber's going for the macro play here, y'all. He's going for the play with that third CC, and Zerg players have a couple options that I've seen. You can go for the fourth hatch early. You can wait on it, try to get up some tech, try to get up some saturation, try to defend the incoming attack, and then go for the fourth base. But I really like going for the fourth base if you know this is here. He doesn't, though. Unfortunately, he doesn't know that base exists, which is a problem for him. So he's kind of in no man's land. He's not quite sure what's going on with Bomber. He's like, well, it's, I only saw a 1-1-1. I didn't see a third CC. I didn't see any other factories. This is really a bit of a conundrum as to exactly what is going on here. But I guess he saw that there was no gas taken at the natural base. That indicates more of a macro-style play. So he's droning up. He's getting 1-1 for his Lings and his Lings, Banelings, and Ultras. All that melee stuff is going to be upgraded. And still no fourth base. I mean, he's sitting happily at 64 workers at 5 minutes, which is great. Just so good. Additionally, he has 6 queens, which is great too. Getting a Baneling nest. Definitely going to try to hold whatever Bomber's going to toss at him with a Ling, Baneling, Queen style strategy, which can work exceptionally well, depending on the surrounds, depending on the micro of your Terran opponent. So Overlord comes in for the secondary scout, sees additional barracks, and says, okay, this is going to be bio. I'm going to want a Baneling nest. Probably going to want Ultralisks at some point. Infestors would be pretty good for fungal growth, but we'll see what DongRaeGu decides to go with now that he has a better idea of what Bomber is working on. Yeah, right now it's kind of a hybrid, like, Hellion Marine tank thing, right? So this isn't going to tell you much if you just wait for the attack or come up and see what's going on. You really need to see the production facilities for Terran. They really put it out on the table here, don't they? Yeah, a bunch of barracks and tanks and Marine tank push incoming. DongRaeGu finally taking a 4th base. Bomber's 3rd base is landing, so the timing isn't too bad for DongRaeGu. Ooh, DongRaeGu is going for a Spire, though. This could be a Ling Bling Muta thing, which, again, is more from DongRaeGu's era. Man, the creep spread is fantastic here, too. I don't know how I feel about Ling Bling Muta these days. We've seen it get some stuff done. In the hands of somebody like Cyril, it's really gotten some stuff done. We've seen TY do some good things with it, too. Or not TY. Man, who was I thinking of there? It was probably Dark. Probably Dark got some stuff done with it, too, but it's hard to win with it as, like, an endgame strategy like it used to be able to do. Trying to get a bit of a surround, and the queens jump in from the top side. Get out of here. Get out of here, Medivacs. Yeah, I think DongRaeGu's doing fine here in game number 1. He's macroing up as much as he wants to. He's going for 2-2. He's got a Spire about to finish here. Bomber hasn't really managed to land any kind of an early opening attack on him at all, really. Have any drones died today? The answer is no. Couple tumors, but that's it. And now that he's attacking, it might be too late. 7.5 minutes is a pretty good timing, but if you haven't been able to slow down the Zerg player at all before now, goodness, Slings, Banelings, Mutalisks in production now, 9 of them on the way. I don't think DongRaeGu can afford to wait for that 2-2. He definitely can't, and that +1 armor is just finishing up for the infantry for Bomber. He's got +1 attack, he's got stim, he's got combat shield, so he has all the upgrades, the basic upgrades he needs to make this thing work. If he didn't have one of those, I'd feel a lot more worried about it, but maybe he's okay. Creep spread. Is there a scan available? Man, engaging on creep like this. There we go. Finally scanning. And finally clearing out about 10 of those creep tumors is exactly what you want to be doing. Meanwhile, the mutas decide to fly in and say hello. Oh, hang on. You could probably kill that turret with the number of mutas you have. All right. Sure, just fly through the missile turret, taking a ton of damage there. There's nothing in the main base to save them. That poor Viking is not fast enough to run away. And yeah, surprise Mutalisks are a surprise. Bunch of Marines do come in to shoo them away. Most of Bomber's army is in here attacking these rocks to set up. I have a bit of a high ground position here, close to the Zerg swarms. 24 Lings on the way, 8 Banelings in production. That 2-2 actually might be done before the major engagement occurs. If DongRaeGu can wait just a little bit longer here, see him coming up on the right side. He's not waiting, though. He's going from one direction, getting some decent hits. This is looking actually pretty scary from Bomber. That 2-2 is now done, and that's going to help. And now it's time to bring it all in. From all directions, the swarms coming north side, south side, east and west side. And then chasing in the remaining Marines. The remaining tanks get picked off. The Medivacs manage to escape because there's nothing really here that can kill them except for the Mutalisks who are chasing in. This might just be a GG, ladies and gentlemen. This third base is done, and that's it. DongRaeGu is your winner, Bomber. Not quite able to get in there and just harass enough in the first 7 minutes. His attack was good, but not enough. DongRaeGu was on 80 workers. He had 2-2 Ling, Baneling, and Mutalisk. He killed a bunch of SCVs during the attack, slowed down Bomber's attack even further, and then was able to hold, basically, again, making nothing but Ling, Baneling, Muta, Queen here in about 9 minutes. If the game had gotten further on, if Bomber had started making Thors and stuff, yeah, the mutas would have lost their effectiveness. But as it stands, that still works, man. That is a strategy that is old as time. But it still works. DongRaeGu pulls it out of his bag and gets a win in game number 1 of this best of 5. So let's move into game number 2 here. Let's not go anywhere, shall we? Ephemeron. Bottom right, DongRaeGu. Top left, Bomber. All right, let's see what Bomber does here. I think not scouting the fact that there were Mutalisks was a major problem for him in game number 1 there. I think he needs to work on the harass game in this series because, yeah, if you leave a Zerg player alone, especially an elite Zerg player like DongRaeGu, for basically 7 minutes, it's going to be really, really hard for you to win if you are a Terran player. You need Banshees, you need Liberators, you need Hellion Run-Bys, maybe some Hellbats. You have a lot of harassing tools. Let's see if Bomber uses them in this game. Hit that like button if you enjoy the series, by the way. Again, 2 names you probably haven't seen in a while, if we're being honest with ourselves. Bomber and DongRaeGu. God, it makes me happy. It just makes me happy on the inside to see this. You know what's crazy to me is StarCraft Brood War came out in 1998. And in 2010, when Wings of Liberty was released, Brood War seemed insanely old. Like, stupid amounts of old. But Wings of Liberty came out in 2010, and now it's 2020. And does Wings of Liberty feel as old as Brood War did? I don't think it did. And maybe that's because we kept getting expansions, whereas Brood War got 1 expansion in the same year it was released in 98. But StarCraft has gotten 2 other expansions years after the initial one, and it kind of feels like it's extended the life of the game a little bit. It's very strange to me, the way time is working now as I'm getting older, but it's an interesting time. That's for sure. So this Reaper's name is simply Jackie Chan. Again, no backstory. That's okay. I think everybody knows who Jackie Chan is. He's the martial arts expert in movies such as Rush Hour. He's kind of a Bruce Lee character. Bruce Lee character in that he's really good at martial arts. He's also a pretty decent actor. He's pretty funny. His movies are good for being funny. And Jackie Chan does all of his stunts. He's done all of his own stunts for years. He broke his foot on set one time in, like the late 90s. That's the kind of the guy he is. He just seems like a really nice dude, really great fighter. Really funny too, seems to be someone who's into having humor in his movies. So that's who Jackie Chan is. He's going to come down and try to get some stuff done. And will he be able to is the question. Well, yeah, once again, I mean, if he gets 12 pooled here, I think Bomber's in trouble because he did an SCV scout again. But the Reaper's going to be able to accomplish some stuff, just at least bruising these drones a little bit. HP they'll recover no problem later on. But yeah, this is pretty much a carbon copy of game number 1. Did you know there's a podcast? There is the weekly Falcon Paladin Hour featuring myself and Samacron. He is an Aussie. Talk about StarCraft 2. We make bets in professional tournaments. The loser has to do stuff like sing Disney songs on the podcast or potentially watch really bad anime. We also talk about other things like movies that are upcoming, TV shows that are airing right now, books, other video games, things like that. KD8 charge, not quite enough to kill that tumor, but good attempt there by Bomber. Third hatch coming up from DRG at a decent time like we saw in the last game. I mean, yeah, this is carbon copy. Carbon copy. Oh, I saw Parasite. Did I mention that? I saw Parasite. I think we're going to talk about it on the next issue, next edition of the Falcon Paladin Hour. Just search Falcon Paladin on your podcast app. Whatever it is, man. Is it Windows? Great. Is it Apple? Okay. Is it Android? All right. You can also search Falcon Paladin Hour just on your browser, any browser on any computer in the world, and you'll find our podcast listed on like 8 different podcast sites too. So check it out. But yeah, Parasite, which won the Oscar for Best Picture for 2019. I was able to pull it up and watched it, and it was good. I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. I don't have as much of a problem with subtitles as a lot of other people do in America, especially. So that didn't bother me at all. And I just thought it was a good story, good acting, really just fantastic camera work and cinematography. Just brilliant, brilliant stuff there, which is what I expect from the director who came up with Parasite. He also did Snowpiercer back in 2012. If you remember that movie with like a baby Chris Evans in it. Anyway, enough ranting and rambling. We're going for Concussive Shell here. Also, that is an armory, and also these are Hellions. And all that adds up to going to be a Hellbat push. Let's Hellbat push today with me, DongRaeGu. You don't have Banelings, you're probably going to die to this. Oh, hang on. You can actually hold it. I've seen it held at the professional level by Zerg players who just have a ton of Lings and a ton of Queens. It is not very cost efficient, but it works. Banelings are a better answer to this. Roaches are a better answer to this. See, if you see the medevac and you see the Marauders, and there's the transformation. And here we go. Banelings on the way. Baneling Nest finishing up just in the gosh darn nick of time. Queens holding back. Banelings trying to get in here. Banelings take a while to morph. It turns out the Queens stacking themselves in there so they can't get surrounded is kind of nice. Baneling surprise! Baneling surprise taking out a few of those Hellbats. The other ones are still alive. There's still 3 or 4 of them here. But that's enough. Extra Baneling hits, extra Ling, extra Queen attacks, and boochoosh. DongRaeGu holds it just narrowly. Extremely intelligent choice to bring the Queens back into the mineral line here. It's kind of like we see Roaches against that Charge Lot all, and we used to see in a previous patch of Legacy of the Void. Is get the Roaches into the mineral lines here so they can't be surrounded by those Zealots, and kind of the same principle applies here. I like it, man. DongRaeGu is up. He's up 54 to 46 workers. He's got 3 bases. Bomber doesn't have a third. Oh, he does have a third base. He's building it in the wall. All right, so it was aggression, right? That's exactly what he needed to do, was get some aggression done. I don't think it worked out for him. 8 Hellbats and a Reaper down for 15 Lings. A Baneling Nest and 3 Banelings. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that was an efficient trade for Bomber. But again, that's not really how this is measured, right? You harass the Zerg player, you slow them down. Even if you don't necessarily kill as much stuff as you think you should, just doing it will mess up their attempts to be on schedule immensely. I say that as a Zerg player. The Terran players who really wreck me are the ones who are showing up with attacks every 10 seconds, it feels like. And even if I handle them, it just messes up my ability to keep everything else going that I need to worry about with the injects and the creep spread and the upgrades and the teching up. And it's a whole thing. The Zerg players who let me do whatever I want are the ones that I have a much easier time with at my level, which is Diamond 2. But yeah, I think that pretty much goes for anybody, right? If you're getting harassed, it infinitely makes your game harder to handle. No matter what race you are, but especially it feels like for Zerg. Just because it's so wide open, right? You can't wall off as Zerg, and that makes it easier to harass them, which is, again, just part of the game design. Part of the race design. So 4th base done for DongRaeGu. Bit of a humongous drop coming in here in Ephemeron. But there's enough Lings and Banelings and Queens here that I don't... Yeah, that's a get out. If the Queens didn't show up and the Banelings weren't here, that might have been a different situation. That number of Lings wasn't necessarily going to handle this. Oh, the unload, though. Oh, the unload, though. Yeah, just get out. These Lings are watching ya. They're watching you. DongRaeGu going for a Spire again. Why wouldn't he do such a thing? It worked out for him well in game number 1. Keep doing it till it stops working is what I say. Creep spread, right side, top side, middle top side, left side is really good stuff here. I'd like to see some creep tumors creeping across this bridge just to make it easier to hold against tank attacks here. We've seen tanks setting up on this bridge time and time again against Zerg players, and they can be hard to dislodge. Not impossible, just kind of hard to dislodge. There's a couple free units up here, maybe. If these Lings could sneak up and... Bomber's coming back. He's coming back and regrouping with his tanks this time. Yeah, creep spreading up this little bridge area, this double bridge situation is what you want to be doing. Meanwhile, Bomber's got the Great Wall of Supply Depots coming up across his 3rd base. He's working on all of the Marines. He's making 9 at a time right now, which is great. I mean, anybody who says Zerg are the only race that can macro well in StarCraft 2 is kind of up in the night. Look at all this. Look at this army supply. 99 to 91 army supply. Worker count is higher for DRG. For DongRaeGu here, he is sitting happily at 84 workers. But again, that early attack slowed him down a little bit. He's not quite maxed out yet. He doesn't quite have the 2-2 like he did around this point of the game in the last one. So, and he's expanding. Might be a bit of a greedy expand here, DongRaeGu. That's all right. I think he's just going to use it for gas income more than anything else. He's spending his money like a boss. Look at that bank. That is nothing for DongRaeGu on 83 workers. Here we go. Going in with 1-1 this time. It's not 2-2. That's a pretty good spread on the Marines. Is it going to be enough? The Marines in the back, all the Banelings are gone. Oh, never mind. There's 1 Baneling remaining. Gets a decent hit there, but it's enough. If there's a handful of Marines remaining in these situations, they're going to do okay for themselves, especially if they have the 1-1, as they do this time. So Bomber's upgrades are better this game. DongRaeGu's are worse this game. And I think that's why that engagement went to the Terran player. Pushing in, he could oh, the scan not quite worn off yet. But army supply 90 to 70. DongRaeGu, where does Mutas go? He's still got 12 of them. Where are they, though? Are they harassing? Oh, they're just kind of hanging out with the rest of the army. All right, I guess. Extra tanks showing up after the previous tanks. Mostly all died, except for this hero with 10 kills. Hero tank. He's a hero tank. All right, man. Mutas, Lings, Banelings trying to jump on top of this army and wipe it out before it gets any closer to his bases. That's the idea here. There are no Thors either. I'm not sure if Bomber is unaware that he needs Thors against Mutalisks, or Thors are really good against Mutalisks right now, but he knows. That dates back to Heart of the Swarm, man. That's nothing new. Baneling bust attempt at the third base. Doesn't go super well. Kills a few supply depots, but that's about it. And here we go. Coming in from the top side. The bottom side is a pretty intense trench position here from Bomber. The kiting again is pretty fantastic by this remaining group, but all the tanks are dead. This army gets wiped out, and Bomber is forced to retreat from this position. DongRaeGu with 2-2 Lings and Banelings, and the Mutalisks in the mix are enough to shove him back. More Lings, more Banelings, and more Mutalisks on the way here. I'm really surprised Bomber doesn't have Widow Mines. If I remember correctly, back in Heart of the Swarm especially, he was really, really into Widow Mine attacks. And they're still good. It's not like they're a relic of an ancient age. We see Widow Mines used by current players all the time. Muta's trying to come around the backside and pick off those tanks, especially, and the medevacs if they can. The tanks are all gone. Bomber's bio is retreating pretty effectively, and there are really not enough Banelings to do that, so DongRaeGu does shove back, make more Banelings, and just continue making Lings and Banelings. I'm really actually kind of shocked we're not seeing him go for a hive. This is generally the timing you want to do that. He's oversaturated on a couple of his bases too. Not immensely, but enough where he needs to transfer them over to this 5th base. Again, he doesn't need to make more workers. 83 is totally fine right now. Totally wonderful. But yeah, not interested in getting 3-3 at all. Mutalisks flying around on the right side, forcing a liftoff onto command center. Killing some Marines sent to mess with them. Oh, and Bomber actually is pulling back. The Mutas could have been up there a little bit longer if they wanted. Yeah, I like this. I'm liking this out of DongRaeGu. Other than the fact he's not going for 3-3 and he's not going for ultras or anything. That might come back to bite him as this game continues to move on. Anyway, Lings, Banelings, Mutalisks are here. The right side Marines looking a little bit scary, but Banelings crash on and everything. The left side looking terrible here as well. And that's your good game. DongRaeGu is your winner in 12 minutes and 22 seconds. Yeah. Again, if the game went on much longer than that, I kind of feel like we would have to see something more than Lings, Banelings, and Mutalisks. But at this stage of the game, it was fine. It was purely Marine tank Marauder. No Widow Mines, no Thors. There was that one Viking that got made, but that's about it. Bomber's 3-3 would have kicked in too if he could have held for a little bit longer. Just a bit longer, having 3-3 against the 2-2 Marines. And especially the unupgraded Mutalisks would have been fantastic. But no Widow Mines, no Thors. I'm just very interested in this out of Bomber. So that's a 2-0 lead. Little bit surprised. I mean, neither of these players are, super... really the elite top 4, top 4 type players in their respective races right now. But yeah, they've got the history. So we'll see. We'll see if Bomber can pull it back here and force a game 5 perhaps in the best of 5. He would need to win the next 3 games in a row to win the whole thing, which is hard to do. But stick with it. We'll find out where we go after this. Eternal Empire for game number 3. Bottom left DongRaeGu, top right it is Bomber. All right, players, what do we got? Do we have something different than what we saw in the first bit of games 1 and 2? In fairness, Bomber did go for a bit of an all-in attempt attack with Marauders and Hellbats with medevac support, which lesser Zergs would have died to, but DongRaeGu held it just by the skin of his teeth. His Baneling nest finished just as the units arrived, morphed in 4 Banelings on the high ground, and that was enough combined with the queens that he had made already. And then, yeah, just Ling Bling Muta the rest of the way, which, I don't know, it's one of my favorite strategies. But I don't quite feel like it's in the meta at this point. Anyway, 16-18-7 here from DongRaeGu. He has no interest in 12 pooling Bomber today, which I think is interesting. I mean, he knows there's not been any SCV scouting, right? Has he noticed a complete lack of SCV scouts in the first 2 games? Maybe he hasn't. Maybe he hasn't. Because, again, if you know that Bomber is not SCV scouting, you send some Lings up this way. And then when the Reaper moves out, you cruise them in. And you kill the SCV building the command center. And you slow everything down. And you ruin the Terran's day. And then you already have a Queen. And then the Reaper can't do anything on the other side. And anyway. We've seen it. You know what I'm talking about. This is nothing new at all. Feel free to support me on patreon.com/Falcon Paladin. It's just a place where you can go to support me monetarily if you feel like it. Gives you access to 1 extra StarCraft Brood War and StarCraft Legacy of the Void cast per week. Post them out there before anyone else can ever see them, which is really, really nice stuff. Good games, too. My gosh. I posted a game out there in Brood War that featured mind control and a Protoss with his own pet Zerg army. It was awesome. It was awesome, and it's still not on the YouTube channel. Good grief. So SCV comes in this time. Hey, check it out. We're SCV scouting. All right, never mind. But he didn't make a Reaper this time. I don't understand the purpose of SCV scouting if you're not making a Reaper. He's making a bunch of Marines, though. This is weird. This is very strange. He's not making a okay, so there's a factory, but he made 3 Marines? Anyway, the Lings are out. And there's not a Reaper here, so it's not a big deal. If that was a Reaper, this would be a problem, but there's not a Reaper, so it's not. So Bomber maybe just getting a head start on his Marine production. He wants to show up with a bit of a double medevac Marine drop, which can be very hard to deal with for Zerg players too, assuming they're not right on top of it, which I think DongRaeGu is capable of being right on top of it, as ya know. Killing his own unbuildable plates, which that looks like a grate to me. That's not so much a plate as a grate. But it exploded like it was rocks. So, who knows? Who understands how this thing works anyway? You guys know the history of this? I'm sure you do, but for those of you who don't, the reason these exist at the bottom of every ramp on ladder maps is because there was a time when Protoss was just coming over to the Zerg base, throwing up 3 pylons in the bottom of the ramp and winning. It sounds really simple, but it cut off the Zerg player from being able to defend his natural base at all. And really slowed down his ability to get out. I mean, it really just basically killed the Zerg's ability to have 2 bases in the early game. And the Protoss would just go 1 expand, like regular expand after it and win. It was really stupid, and so Zerg just patched it out of existence by introducing these plates. Now you know. Hey, it's a fusion core, which the Overlord scouts instantly. So, do you still want to go Battlecruiser? I don't know. It's a 3rd CC and a Battlecruiser play, which seems interesting out of Bomber. Let's see how DongRaeGu can handle the early Battlecruiser if he knows it's coming, like 2 minutes in advance of it actually arriving. Seems like he should be able to handle this just fine. Whoosh. Whoosh. Hellion flamethrower attacks are one of my favorite things in all of StarCraft. It's a good sound. I mean, it's bad for my Zerglings, but just aesthetically pleasing, I gotta say. Hey, we're having a sale at the store, by the way, as these Hellions try to come in. So FalconPaladin.store, for the rest of the month of February, we've got a 20% off coupon available for you. It's Summer Crowns. That's the word Summer Crowns with an S at the end, all one word. Use it at checkout to get 20% off of anything you buy at FalconPaladin.store for the rest of the month of February. Check it out. We've got hats, we have t-shirts, we've got hoodies and jackets, and depending on what time of year it is where you are, it's probably cold, or it's going to be cold in a couple months. So a jacket might be a good thing to have, but regular t-shirts too if you're just interested in the shirt aspect of it. We have specific shirts for each race in StarCraft, Protoss, Terran, and Zerg, which is kind of neat stuff. So check it out, FalconPaladin.store, as Bomber lands his 3rd base. And the Battlecruiser's in production. So, I mean, yeah, this is DongRaeGu basically saying I'm going to throw up some spores. I'm going to have a bajillion queens. 7 of them seems like a good number. Here at 5 minutes, going for some evolution chambers too, and it's really not until you see a 2nd BC you really need a Spire. You can handle 1 Battlecruiser with just what you've got. But if he starts making another one, which he can't afford quite yet, then you want some Corruptors. But he's making a Spire anyway because it's DongRaeGu, and he's in love with his Spire today. Haven't cast enough of his games to know if this is just how he rolls, but seems like maybe it is. DongRaeGu's 4th base is now coming up. Battlecruiser jumped, man. I thought it was just going to fly over. Any shots the Queen can get off are good shots here. The Queen's not really in position to do anything. Nice transfuse, though. Oh, my gosh. The transfuses are stupid good. All that time taken to try to kill that Queen, and it's still alive. Yeah, Battlecruiser, scary stuff, but you have the Queen count and the transfuses on tap. It really doesn't matter as much in the long run. Spore Crawler repositioning itself to deal with his BC as well as it can. And yeah, I mean, it's got 2 kills. I think 2 drone kills. So Bomber is going to move into other stuff now. He is, in fact, not making another Battlecruiser at all. He's working on Armory, though, in all the bio in the entire world. Really surprised we haven't seen Bomber go for the mech yet. It's just so popular in TVZ these days, and I'm really surprised he doesn't feel like he has a handle on it. Look at this. Look at this. DongRaeGu's like, oh, Battlecruiser, huh? Well, Ling Bling Muta it is. So he's going to go Ling Bling Muta again. This drop, though, has potential to be pretty damaging, as DongRaeGu does not know that it exists. I mean, he got the drones out of there in time, which is really nice, but the Marines are kind of backed up in this corner. There are no Banelings at all. The Lings are going to have a really bad time against this many Marines. Taking down an Extractor is not a small victory here, and the Lings can't engage. 1-1 Marines with medevac support. Oh, you left some men behind. What? There was room in that medevac, you lazy medevac pilot. Next time, get back there and save your guys. So, decent attack. Slows down the gas income a little bit here for DongRaeGu. Maybe not as much as Bomber wanted to slow down the Zerg player, but it's cool in the long run. Is it, though? Is it, Falcon? I don't rightly know. Alright, creep spread, good as usual here from DongRaeGu. Marines, tanks, Hellions. It's pretty much what Bomber's been doing today, and it hasn't been working out for him very well versus this Ling Bling Muta stuff. I am appalled there are no Widow Mines. There's no Widow Mines, there's no Thors. I don't get it. I mean, this isn't Bomber, like, his macro's bad, or... It's just 1 or 2 decisions. He's just not doing the things that we see players today do against particular strategies and particular races. It's not like Bomber doesn't know, right? I'm sure he watches StarCraft. I'm sure he's got his friends and fellow teammates that he practices with. I mean, it's not for the Hellbats. This is very Wings of Liberty-esque right now. Look at him just sitting on creep, too. Hey, guys, what's up? He says. I'm going to kill some of your creep. Got some Hellbats up here in front to absorb some stuff, but, I mean, they're light. They take bonus damage from Banelings, too. Which is why you make Banelings against Hellbats. Ling's trying to cruise up this left side and take out a couple supply depots if possible. Again, the Banelings is what they got the first time around here. Okay, another Extractor down. Minor victory. And DongRaeGu, is he waiting for that 2-2? Because it is a ways off here at 9.5 minutes. It's a bit slower than we've seen in Games 1 and Game 2. But once again, coming in from all directions, though, is DongRaeGu. Is it enough to take down this Terran army? No. Not even close this time. The Battlecruiser's in the mix. He'll trade pretty well versus Mutalisks. Tell you that much. Lings are going to town. Banelings rolling into Bomber's 3rd base, but DongRaeGu's 4th is done. Army supply is 59-69. DongRaeGu has a lead here, but the Mutalisks are not great against this Marine Battlecruiser setup at all. Like, not even a little bit. So the Mutas are a little bit useless right now if they can get cleared out by the Lings. The Banelings are kind of stuck in the back. They're trying to make connections. Can they get there? They get the tank. Pretty great splits here out of Bomber. Reinforcements are in too. Turn it around. Nice target fire. Turn it around. You take down those Mutalisks if you can. 12 more Banelings in production. Bomber starting his 3rd base. He cleared out the harassment in his 3rd. They're starting his 3rd +3 attack upgrade here for the infantry. This is for all the marbles, man. If DongRaeGu wins this game, he wins the whole thing 3-0, which would be an honest bummer for me. Not expecting this kind of an outcome here, but it's going to be close. We'll see. Again, the 3-3 is going to help immensely for Bomber, as I mentioned in the previous cast. The previous game, anyway. Creep spread. Gone. I mean, Bomber doesn't know about this base up here, which is a problem. And more Baneling attacks, but we've got tanks this time. That was a lot better. That was a lot better held there by the Terran player. Is he pulling back? No. No, you can't afford to be pulling back here, lads. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. All right. Million medevacs in the sky. Oh, boy. 3-3 finishing up, which is going to be huge. DongRaeGu heading up the right side, and this base is toast. There's no saving it with all the Mutalisks here, too. And Bomber decides just to go for it. I'm going to kill your other source of income, make you a 3-basing Zerg, which is bad. And I'll be a 3-basing Terran, which is fine versus a 3-basing Zerg. Creep spread getting wiped out. The army is not really in a position to do anything about this. At least the Mutalisks aren't. They're trying to kill stuff, but turrets are a problem for them. So yeah, DongRaeGu trying to replan his fourth, but he's definitely still a 3-basing Zerg player, which is not ideal in the least. Oh my gosh, no, 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 no. Okay, the Mutas did not fly to their deaths over these +3 attack Marines. They almost did. They thought about it, and then they changed their minds at the last second. These Mutas are going to try to get a tank. Pick up and save. Army supply 141 to 116 in favor of Bomber right now. He's 3-basing it. He's looking good. He's looking strong. And the Mutas are swinging back around for an attempt at that third base. But again, +3 Marines with Stim and Combat Shield and Medevac support are the anti-Mutalisk in every possible way. Trying to save the hatchery. Lings and Banelings just wiping out this army, though. More tumors out. Maybe going to get a Creep Queen if you're lucky. This is a tight match. This is really close. I mean, DongRaeGu has a massive, scary Ling Baneling Mutalisk army. I'm not going to say that is not a scary army. Bomber has a bit of an army advantage here with a bunch of Marines. He can sneak in and take down this hatchery when DongRaeGu's not paying attention to it. Oh, he got it! He sniped the hatch! Meanwhile, backside attack, though. 360 surround. The Banelings all get target fired. The Banelings got target fired from the top side and the bottom side. And the Mutalisks are gone, and Bomber ends up winning game number 3 like an absolute boss. That was close. That was close. That was extremely scary for him, but he managed to get it done nevertheless. Fantastic, fantastic display. 20,000 Zerg resources lost to 10,000 from Bomber. I mean, 88 Marines, handful of tanks, battlecruiser died, 16 Mutalisks, 112 Banelings, and 253 Zerglings, and 3 hatches down, which is massive. His ability to take down those 2 hatches and then the replacement one that came up after that was big. Really slowed down the target firing in that final battle was everything too. Taking down those Banelings before they could get in there and take out all of the 67 Marines that remained was a massive play. 3-3 Marines, 67 of them versus 26 Zerglings and 5 Queens, and that was DongRaeGu's army. Nicely done. So let's move on into the 4th game of this best of 5. Really happy Bomber managed to take it out here. Let's see what happens in our next ZVT. Simulacrum. Dang it. Simulacrum. Huh? I think that's it. Top left, Bomber. Bottom right, DongRaeGu. Woo! That was a good match. That was a really, really good match number 3 there. Boy, did I enjoy that. All right, so Simulacrum. Simulacrum? Simulacrum. Simulacrum. But it's simulated. That's what throws me off. I figured this out. The word it reminds me of is simulation. So it should be simulacrum. But it's simulacrum. It's a subtle difference. I don't know. We're going to move on. DongRaeGu, I'm not 12 pooling today. Don't worry about it. 16 hatching. Actually, was that a 15 hatch? That might have been a 15 hatch. I don't know that it matters all that much in the long run. Hatch gas pool, man. Standard for a long time. Standard. I remember when that build was discovered in Wings of Liberty, and it was a revelation, man. Like, you mean versus Terran? I can go hatch first, and there's very little they can do against it unless they really commit themselves, and the answer was yes, and it was great. Pleased young Falcon to no end back in those days. Also, then somebody introduced the Baneling bus to me, and that was great until Terran players learned how to scout it and just extra wall off against it, and then it was bad times. So it's really just been an up and down experience all the way around in the world of StarCraft. It's been great, though. It's been really nice. Playing it since 1998. Really more of a competitive StarCraft 2 player than a competitive Brood War player. I've never been very good at Brood War. You know, who is, honestly? I guess that would be the question, right? Who really feels like they're great at Brood War? Anyway, we've got a Reaper in production because Bomber's back to the Reaper ways here after taking a break in game number 3. Reaper's name is keyboard not found. Press enter to continue. That's all one word. There aren't any spaces there. So yeah, keyboard not found, press enter to continue is a classic meme. Boy, that is an old meme, sir, but it checks out without question. So trying to cruise on in, see what we can do. I think this is maybe trying to deny the third base. Oh, he just missed it, though. If he had just gone there anyway, he probably could have denied. Probably could have beat the drone in there and maybe shoved it off, too. That sucks. Bomber's like, I was really trying to kill that third. Got there a tiny, tiny bit too late, though, and that's kind of what matters in StarCraft, is the tiny, tiny little delays that can mean all the difference in the world. So Bomber's not interested in proxying, and DongRaeGu is not interested in going for a 12 pool. So I think there's a bit of a gentleman's agreement going on here between these two players today, because we will often see attempts at proxy rexing against Zerg, especially in the current meta where it seems to work pretty well. And it's better than trying to go to the mid and late game versus Zerg when bad things will happen to you. In fairness, DongRaeGu is not using anything that every non-Zerg player complains about. There are no Vipers, there's no Infestors, there's no Broodlords, there's not even Ultralisks. He's just going Ling, Bling, Muta and winning these games for the most part, which is nuts. Again, Bomber's complete refusal to make a Widowmine is blowing my mind. I have specific memories of him using Widowmines to great advantage against Zerg players in Heart of the Swarm matches I was watching before I had my own channel. I mean, we're talking 2012, 2013, 2014, those days. Actually, when did... Yeah, Legacy of the Void came out in 2015, because that's when I started my channel. Right, you are. So creep spread, great. Queen count, insane. Is DongRaeGu going to do anything other than Banelings, Zerglings, and Mutalisks? We'll see. We'll see what happens in this game at number 4 and maybe the game number 5. If Bomber can win this and force a game 5, that'll be a really nice comeback from him. Really, really difficult to pull off for sure. Again, Overlord scouting. Marines are going to make sure he doesn't get a good scout off here. It's another great, really fast third CC. And Zerg players, if you see the fast third CC, you know what you can do. Terrans honestly just go for it in the current meta. I mean, as long as you have a pretty good understanding your opponent has a third base himself, going for a third CC is fine. I mean, you want to check the saturation on the third, because if they don't have a saturated third base at around the 4 or 5 minute mark, it probably means they're going for a Roach Ravager all-in, and then you'll die. But otherwise, you can get your third base with confidence. Is that a Spire? That's a Spore, because you don't have a lair yet, obviously. You know what? Don't have a lair yet. I guess it's not quite time for that for DongRaeGu. My sense of time's a little bit off in this game. It is totally, totally cool. 1-1 coming in. DongRaeGu starting his lair at about 5 minutes. And Bomber really able to get approximately 0 damage done. Okay, he's killed 2 Overlords. And a Creep Tumor, which is not bad. Creep Tumors can't be canceled in the current patch of StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void. Yeah, it's just a calm, peaceful day here on the map. I don't know what you guys are expecting. Battles, explosions, death? I don't see any of that. Just see civilizations peacefully constructing homes. Spreading goop everywhere, as is customary for their people. Taking joyrides in airplanes. Just very peaceful out here today. Oh, there we go. That's what we're here for. It's a bit of an attempted drop. There are enough lings, I think, especially with Bane's waddling in and the Queen support to get out of there. So that was admirably held by DongRaeGu, who's got his 4th base rocking and rolling. Bomber's 3rd is happily running 257 to 76 workers, though DongRaeGu is just a droning beast today. And he's going for that Spire, y'all. Going for that Spire and that Macro Hatch and the Centrifugal Hooks and the 2-2. I mean, DongRaeGu has a method, and he's got a strategy, and he's got a recipe, and he's sticking to it. Thank you for asking. I mean, this does naturally lend itself to go into Ultralisks. But we haven't even gotten close to there today. Not even a hive. Did DongRaeGu make a hive? He might have made a hive in one of these games, but he didn't do anything with it. I don't think he did, though. I'm trying to remember. So, yeah, this feels pretty carbon copy, man. Marine, Tank, Hellion, Mutalisk, Baneling, Zergling. 2-2 coming in around 8 minutes. It's a bit faster today than it has been. Or today. In this game than it has been earlier today. Is that a 5th base? By golly, DongRaeGu is being the thing again that he was in the last one. The Mutalisk's going to go ahead and harass. Ooh, that Hellion survives despite having 3 kills to his name. And Bomber, again, a little late on the missile turret guy. Like, this has pretty much been what DongRaeGu's been up to today, is making Mutalisks. So not having turrets when the Mutalisks arrive is really problematic. I mean, the Marine count is nuts, and that's what we saw in the last game. If the Marine count is nuts and the target fire on the Banelings is good, it can be a problem for Zerg players everywhere. This is a really efficient scan. That's a lot of dead tumors there. DongRaeGu says, let's go for the base race. Gonna trade a base for a base here and see how I feel about that. I don't know about Bomber sending some of his army back. Nice target hit, though, on the tanks, but boy, that 3rd base is out. That 3rd base is out, and Bomber's bringing his whole army back. No! I don't know about this. I mean, they say never base race a Terran, but I guess if the Zerg player has Mutalisks, that can be a difference here. Alright, so Bomber loses his 3rd and kills nothing on the other end. He's in a massively, stupidly huge amount of trouble here. I mean, sure, he might take down the 4th. There's really not much here from DongRaeGu to save it, which is, you know, it's a decent victory. It is. But he lost his 3rd entirely. He's down 75 to 41 total workers, which is nuts. Is he even working on upgrades? He's not even working on his own 2-2. So here comes the swarm. Yeah, we're here. We're having a great time, everyone. Everybody is dead. And DongRaeGu wins the best of 5, 3 games to 1, never ever deviating from Ling, Baneling, Mutalisk, and makes it happen like an absolute boss. I mean, that was kind of a shellacking there, yeah? Kind of a shellacking. Bomber not quite able to hang. Again, his steadfastly refusing to make Widow Mines and Thors is insane. That's how you handle this. This Ling, Baneling, Muta stuff is Widow Mines and Thors. That splash damage versus the Mutas is really good. Widow Mine shots on Banelings especially is incredibly satisfying as Terran. And yeah, I don't know what to say about this other than the stuff I've already said. I mean, this has just been pretty much the same game over and over here. Bomber did manage to win one of the matches with some really nice target firing, and that's what you can do against this, but it requires an incredible level of skill and some luck, and maybe getting some damage done, and maybe the Zerg player is a little bit late on his upgrades compared to what he usually is, but expecting luck and your opponent to mess up for you to win a game is not ideal. So, Bomber doing what he can, but not quite enough, and DongRaeGu takes him out in 3 games to 1 in this best of 5. All right, well, that's going to be it from me. This has been Falcon Paladin coming at you with yet another edition of StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void and a best of 5 from Katowice 2020. Go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe if you like what you saw and what you heard today. You can also catch me on Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, and Twitch, all at /Falcon Paladin. And until next time, as always, thank you so much for watching, and you take care of yourself.